Hello, this is Jason from Liberate Raleigh, and this is another Foundations of Anarchism video. This is video number 10, which is also the final video in this series, where we sort of bring everything together and tie it up in a bow and make a nice little gift out of it. So, over the first 9 videos, we've covered a lot of different basic definitions that are relevant to the topic of politics and anarchy, starting from justice and rights, going through property, homesteading, self-ownership, how people have the right to delegate rights, what the definition of monopoly is, and now we're going to talk about what the state is and what anarchy is. So, first of all, we'll talk about what the state is. So the state is a group of people, a person or a group of people, or an institution, or something like that, that claims the monopoly right to enforce property rights. So all disputes between humans reduce to questions of who has the right to, who has the legitimate authority to use a certain object. So those disputes can be arbitrated in various ways, and if you have property, if you own something and somebody steals it from you, as an individual, you have the right to defend that property. That's part of what property rights are. Nobody has the exclusive right to enforce property rights against aggressors. So as this is just part of basic human rights, everybody has this. So for example, if you have something like say a car, and somebody steals it from you, you have the right to retrieve that car and exact restitution from that person. So what the state is that organization which claims the exclusive right or authority to execute the enforcement of those property rights. And the reason why this is improper is because you are not given a free choice to choose who you may delegate that right to. As we said in an earlier video, if you own a right, if you have a right in something, you can delegate that right to somebody else. So since everybody has the right to enforce property claims, they can delegate the right to enforce property claims to some third party. However, the government does not allow that choice. They put out of business any other possible competitor for that right, and force everybody within a given region, a given geographical region, otherwise known as, say, a country, or there may be states that are smaller, maybe only the size of a county or a city, but they enforce this monopoly claim over a geographic region. They may permit people to engage in self-defense, and in that sense allow them to enforce or protect property claims, but anytime they allow this, these actions are of course subject to the government's authority. I'm using the term government and state interchangeably in this video. So even in those instances where people may be permitted by the government to enforce their own property claims or to engage in private arbitration, these are always subject to the authority of the government, who reserves the right at any time to enforce property claims or to enforce the protection of property claims. And ultimately, this leads to them having the monopoly right to define what property claims actually exist. So really what this comes down to is there's no meaningful difference between what the government does and what, say, a mafia protection racket does. They knock on your door and they say, yeah, you need to give us money in order for us to protect you. But they don't give you the option of protecting yourself or delegating the right to protect of your own personal protection or enforcement of your rights to some other organization, the mob steps in and it's either them or they put you out of business or threaten to shoot you or put you in the hospital. So they utilize aggressive force to implement their monopoly claim of the delegation of the enforcement of rights. And this is exactly the same way that the government does. You are not given the free choice to choose somebody else. So what is anarchy? Anarchy is the belief that nobody should have the monopoly right or the monopoly authority to over a given geographic region to enforce property claims, that people should be free to either enforce them themselves, voluntarily agree to third-party arbitration, and to choose what arbitration organization handles these disputes, or to delegate the enforcement and protection of their property rights to whatever person or a group of people that they wish. If they want to delegate it to a company that specializes in this sort of thing, they should be free to do so. If there's a mutual aid society that handles these things, they should be free to delegate that right to that organization. It doesn't matter who they do this, who they give this to. The critical question is whether that delegation is voluntarily and freely given to that person or a group of people. And that's where the state is actually engaging in criminal activity. They do not allow a free choice. The choice is coerced. It's either them or nobody, or you end up in jail or dead or some other negative consequence. So as you can see, the state is actually at its heart a criminal organization, and it is inherently a criminal organization, not meaningfully different from a mafia syndicate in that sense. They're both protection rackets. So as you can see, the goal should be to eliminate crime whenever possible. And here we have an instance of institutionalized crime. This is why the state and the government should be opposed and should be ultimately eliminated, which would bring us into a state of anarchism. So this is the final video of the Foundations of Anarchism series, where we have covered a lot of basic definitions. The purpose of these videos, as stated earlier, is to just give a brief outline of the important definitions and the chain of reasoning that leads from one definition to the next, and how we go from those base definitions to the belief that the state is illegitimate and that anarchy is the proper state of human society. So hopefully this has been a good introduction. These videos were meant to be introductory and not overly comprehensive. That would take countless videos to cover every possible objection. So hopefully this will, if you're new to these ideas, you now feel inspired to do some more research. Obviously you can get in touch with me, and I'd be more than happy to help anyone along those lines and recommend some further reading or things of that nature. And I just hope that this has given you a new perspective on how to look at the world around you and the political system. So with that, this is Jason from Liberate Raleigh, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and the 9 previous ones, and I'll see you guys later.